We live in an era marked by haste and emotional overload. The demands of modern life, combined with a flood of stimuli and pressures, create a fertile environment for negative thoughts to take root in our minds. Amid this scenario, it becomes common to hear internal voices that persistently whisper and sometimes shout that we are not good enough, that we are doomed to fail, that we are invisible, unloved, or that it simply isn't worth trying. These voices, when not identified and carefully confronted, take silent control of our worldview, and even more so, the way we see ourselves. It is at this point that many people, unknowingly, become prisoners of their own thoughts. There are no visible bars or cells, but the mental prison constructed from limiting beliefs is deep, silent, and extremely painful. However, one of the greatest truths we can learn is that we are not our thoughts. Thoughts are transient events, mental impulses reflecting emotions, experiences, and momentary interpretations. They are not immutable facts or absolute truths. But when we confuse ourselves with these ideas, especially the negative ones, we become prisoners of narratives that do not represent who we truly are. The first step to escape this invisible prison is to awaken awareness. Observing one's own thoughts without automatically reacting to them is a transformative exercise. When a negative thought arises, it is important to recognize it for what it is, just a thought, not a sentence, not a prophecy, not a faithful description of reality. Many of these thoughts are echoes of the past, formed in childhood, in painful or traumatic experiences, in harsh words we heard, and that due to our lack of emotional maturity, we absorbed as absolute truths. These ideas have remained with us, repeating year after year, like a broken record, until we begin to live them as identity. Breaking this cycle requires courage. It is necessary to look within and investigate the roots of these beliefs. Where does this feeling of inadequacy come from? Who told you that you couldn't? At what moment did you start believing you were unworthy? The simple act of asking these questions already represents a huge step toward inner freedom. Questioning what has always been accepted as truth is a sign of awakening, but recognizing the wounds is not enough. A process of reconstruction must begin. The human mind is comparable to a garden. If you do not plant flowers, weeds will grow. If you do not nourish your mind with words of life, courage, love, and purpose, it will be overtaken by fear, guilt, doubt, and shame. Therefore, learning to cultivate a more compassionate and positive internal dialogue is essential for transformation. Changing statements like, "I am a failure" to "I am learning" or replacing "I never get it right" with "I am making progress" little by little is not self-deception. It is practicing emotional intelligence. Even if at first these phrases seem artificial, their intentional repetition has a profound effect. Science confirms this through the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change through repetition and experience. Each time a new thought is reinforced, new neural pathways are formed. In other words, by feeding the mind with compassion and encouragement, you literally begin to become a new person. However, this practice requires consistency. Old and automatic thoughts may return, especially on tough days. But the difference lies in how you begin to react to them. Instead of surrendering, you start to question, to disidentify, to redirect your energy. Gradually, you cease being a hostage of your mind and become an attentive observer, capable of choosing which thoughts you wish to engage with. It is also crucial to understand that self-compassion is a vital component of this process. We have been taught to criticize ourselves to improve, as if harshness is synonymous with responsibility. But psychology shows that the path to sustainable growth passes through acceptance. Being compassionate with oneself is not exempting yourself from responsibility, but recognizing your shortcomings with humanity and moving forward with kindness. It is possible to be firm without being cruel. it is possible to correct without destroying oneself. Over time, you will realize that your essence does not lie in the voices that limit you, nor in the mistakes you have made, nor in the criticisms you have heard. You are more. You are a being in constant evolution, with a real capacity to reinvent yourself. Even on days when negative thoughts insist on returning, remember, they are clouds. You are the sky. And the sky, no matter how covered with clouds, never ceases to be vast, free and full of possibilities. One of the most powerful pillars in the process of inner transformation is conscious presence. Much of the negative thoughts that haunt us are anchored in two places: the past, with its pains, guilt, and regrets, or the future, filled with uncertainties, fears, and anxiety. The mind, unanchored, incessantly wanders between these extremes. However, when you anchor yourself in the present moment, take a deep breath and turn your attention to the now, just the now, many of these thoughts lose the power to dominate you. The practice of mindfulness invites us to this state of serene presence. It is simply about being, without judgment, without resistance, just observing. Observing the thoughts that come up as if watching clouds passing in the sky, without trying to hold on to them, without fear of letting them go. Over time, you realize that you are not what you think. You are the one who observes the thoughts, and that changes everything. This state can be cultivated in simple gestures. A few minutes of silence at dawn, a walk where your feet touch the ground with awareness, a moment of gratitude before sleeping, a deep breath during the intervals of the day. It is not about grand practices, but about small conscious habits. They renew the mind and strengthen the spirit from the inside out. Another essential point is the care with what you allow to enter your mind. Everything you consume mentally, content, conversations, environments, shapes how you feel and perceive yourself. Alarming news, social media filled with comparisons, toxic environments or negative people. All of this contaminates your mental and emotional field. Therefore, protect your energy. Read books that uplift, listen to music that brings peace, share moments with people who inspire you, and seek spaces where your soul can breathe. And never hesitate to seek support. This does not diminish your strength. On the contrary, it reveals your courage. A therapist, a spiritual counselor, a support group, or even a sincere conversation with someone you trust can open pathways that you may not see on your own. Asking for help is, above all, an act of love for yourself. Mental freedom is not an unattainable ideal. It begins the moment you choose not to believe everything you think. When you understand that a thought is not necessarily a truth. When you decide not to cling to what hurts you, but instead nourish what strengthens you. We all have negative thoughts. That is human. What liberates us is not allowing them to govern us. The key is not in fighting against the mind, but in caring for it with tenderness, constancy, and truth. Your mind can be a dark prison, filled with doubts, or a clear and vast sky where new thoughts can be born and soar. This choice, though challenging, is in your hands. Remember, you are not the fear you feel, nor the pain you have lived through. You are the silent strength that has survived it all. And this strength can expand, can reinvent itself, can choose right now to live more lightly and consciously. You can break free, not when everything is resolved, not tomorrow, but today. Because the first step to freedom is realizing that it begins within you. And every time you choose peace instead of guilt, presence instead of anxiety, hope instead of fear, you are writing a new story. A story that is more alive, more yours.